Sorry about that, guys. Internet yesterday twice decided to reset itself, and it decided to do it again just now because there you go. That's just Sky Internet for you. It's not the greatest in the world. I'm sat here talking to Jonty, and probably the last person should be moaning about my internet too, to be fair. So yeah, hopefully it won't happen again. If it does, I might not restart the stream because it might be a bigger issue, but it should just be an internet reset. So thank you to the 145 that did stick around. I'd have understood if you didn't. But yeah, we're just talking about Bottas. We expected better, I think we were saying, weren't we, Jonty?
Yeah, having the most powerful car on the grid, he should have been catching the train behind Alonso much quicker. He really should have been.
Yeah, definitely. A few people saying you're going a bit robo, mate, but I think there's not a lot we can do until you got your internet sorted. So I'm afraid, guys, you might just bear with it. However, Chaz has just said he's finished his video, so we'll pull in Chaz as well, just for some reactions, get some extra opinions. It's always nice to have a few extras. So we're just saying about Bottas there, Chaz. We expected better, and we were a bit surprised, weren't we, watching the race live, that he wasn't a bit closer to that top fight in the end.
Yeah, I was surprised because I think he had definitely had the car to get up there. And if you actually look, it's on the screen right now, I believe. Bottas ended the race on super softs compared to Hulkenberg, Alonso, and Verstappen, who were on soft. So he had a half a second in his pocket automatically, and he had a faster car automatically because, as we've seen with Lewis Hamilton in qualifying, that Mercedes is just very, very quick. So I think he could have done better.
That's a fair point, actually, isn't it, John? He's on the faster tyre and he's still absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. He definitely should have been doing more.
We said, didn't we, over pre-season, the pressure will be on him from pretty much the first race, and I think he's shown that this weekend. But, you know, like I'm going to say many times in this, it's first race of the season. Anything can happen between now and Abu Dhabi, so we never know. Van Dorn, not bad. I don't think too bad. You know, what was he, 7 seconds off his teammate? Which just goes to show how tight the midfield is, I suppose. But it's just such a difficult teammate to beat, isn't he, Alonso? I would say, John, it's not... Kind of have to... When you look at Van Dorn versus Alonso in the same team, you almost have to ignore the comparison to his teammate because you've got to be something pretty special to get close to Alonso.
Yeah, I think Van Dorn did a decent race. He kept out of any trouble and certainly wasn't a long way off. So a respectable showing, that's for certain.
Yeah, only 7 seconds, Chaz, which I say only 7 seconds, that's a lot in Formula One, but I think he could be happy with that, Stoffel.
Yeah, I think he should be happy, and I think he did an okay race. He wasn't quick, but he wasn't slow. He also finished the race on Supersoft, so maybe you could argue he should have been on the back of that 4-car train of Alonso, Verstappen, Hulkenberg, Bottas, but he scored points for McLaren. That's all I think he and McLaren will care about, honestly.
Yeah, it's points on the board, isn't it? That's the crux of it. Science nowhere, though, Chaz. Didn't seem to be. I've not heard if there was any issue with the car or anything, but just absolutely nowhere.
I've actually heard there has been an issue. Apparently, there was an issue with his water pump, and apparently as well, he nearly vomited during the race, so I don't think he was in the right condition.
Okay. Yeah.
But do you remember him? Was it practice 2? Hulkenberg complained about the same thing, about his drinks bottle.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah.
So something's not right with the drinks bottle on the Renault's car, obviously.
Can understand if you feel a bit sick during races, you're not going to be 100%. But say in some ways, I guess the next person to come on to, John, is Perez. So if that was the case with Sainz and he was having issues, then Perez really should have picked up that last point. He wasn't far off it though, to be fair. But Force India this weekend, nowhere, John, absolutely nowhere.
No, I mean no pace at all. They were nowhere in practice. They were nowhere in quali. Nowhere in the race. It's a shock.
It concerns me a little bit. But I think we said, didn't we, actually, in the live thingy, Chaz, that the thing is, because they didn't take their up-to-date car to Barcelona for testing, they've arrived in Australia a little bit on the back foot.
Yeah, I don't think they're ready for the season. I think if this race happened 3 weeks later, they would probably put in a better performance. I don't think they're ready for the season. I don't think they'll be ready until Baku at the earliest to consistently challenge and go for points. They're just nowhere near where they need to be right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Hopefully they'll pick up. I'm sure they will, but it's the money as well, isn't it? If the money's not there, there's uncertainty around the team's future in terms of who's going to be owning it. So it all has an impact, but I honestly expected they'd turn up in that fight for fourth. But right now, I think they're going to be, at the moment, in the fight for maybe seventh. But one man I do want to talk about, John T, is 13th. Doesn't look spectacular, but Charles Leclerc was actually solid, absolutely solid in this race.
Yeah, it's a decent performance in a car we honestly expected a little bit more from. We knew it wasn't going to be right up there, but quali didn't really show its pace. It certainly showed a lot more in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 3 seconds clear nearly of Stroll. He was matching him for pace in a car that should be quicker. Even, the Williams wasn't quick in practice, but it looked quicker than the Sauber, and a really good weekend, I think. For just the thing with rookies, though, is they need to come in, don't they? Just have a quiet weekend, get everything right, get the mileage under your belt. First race weekend done. I don't think, like I say, 13th is not spectacular, Chaz, but it's not a bad weekend all round, and he was quicker than the Williams through the race.
Yeah, I'd say it's not a bad weekend. I mean, in practice, they looked miles off, but really surprised me in qualifying. And in the race, they were decent, I'd say. And the only thing I would say about Leclerc is I think he could have beat Ericsson this weekend. I mean, of course, Ericsson is more experienced, but it wasn't like Ericsson was 3 or 4 tenths ahead. It was still close. And I think Leclerc probably could have beat him, especially during qualifying. But yes, it was a decent race.
Yeah, I think Williams will be concerned. We'll talk about them now. Lance Stroll, really good Q1 lap, I thought, yesterday. P14, not really anywhere. Sirotkin retiring. We were worried, weren't we, coming into the season, Chaz, that they were going to be right down the back, and at the minute, it looks like they are that way.
Yeah, it's not looking good. They didn't have any race pace. They're now having reliability issues, which is the last thing you would expect from Williams, considering they have a Mercedes engine and that they never really have reliability issues. And I don't see it getting better because it's not like the next circuit is Monza or Austria. So I don't see how it's going to get better for a very long time.
With a lot of criticism through the winter for Sergei Sirotkin. People said judge him once Australia's out the way, but we can't, can we, Jonty? Because 6 laps is not enough to judge any driver.
No, it's nowhere near enough. But like you've already said, we can judge Williams. All the worries we had from testing seem to be coming true.
Yeah, they look.
As Chaz said, we won't. There isn't really a chance for them to show what they've got for a long time.
It's a worry. It's a worry. I mean, I'm not going to bash them too much. I gave them quite a hard time in the winter. I guess it's just a case of waiting and seeing. Hopefully, they'll pick it up. One team, though, that I'm surprised by, I'm not going to lie, was Toro Rosso. I expected more from them this weekend, a bit more pace, but I think we were duped a little bit in testing. I think that was all a PR exercise looking back now. Engine failure for Gasly. Hartley 30-odd seconds behind Stroll. Okay, he had some problems, but still there was a safety car which should have bunched everything up a lot more, but it wasn't good, was it, Chaz?
But then again, in my opinion, I didn't expect anything more. I mean, I expected them to go in Q1, and I expected them to be in and around that 14th to 15th. And I think, as you said, they duped us in pre-season testing.
It just feels a bit like it was a PR exercise. They spent all of pre-season saying, yeah, Honda are great and they're doing this for us and cleaning up their image, and I wouldn't be surprised if they ran a lighter car, underweight to make sure it looked quicker.
Yeah.
They're saying they use 3 engines. Could they have used more? That sort of thing. But testing's testing. It doesn't really matter. But it's on race performance. I guess one positive for Toro Rosso is that Hartley did finish. Something McLaren didn't often get the luxury of last year was a car finishing a race. So I don't know, Jonty. What are your thoughts on Toro Rosso and Honda?
A bit fake. It's really quite annoying, actually. I mean, we know a lot of the teams fake, don't show what they can do during testing, but to sort of out and out falsify the reliability and the speed of the car, which from today we can only assume is what they've done, is bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. The last time I can remember anybody really faking it in a positive way, if you like, was Prost in 2001, and that was all as an exercise to get sponsors on the car, and it worked. They were dire when they got into the season, but just seen a couple in chat saying, didn't last name finish 14th? I think last name was in a fight, wasn't he, Chaz, at one point for 4th and 5th?
Yeah, there was 2 last names competing for the last podium place.
The brother's last name. That's going to be a rolling joke through the season. I can see that coming. All in all, then, I'll come to you first, Chaz. Obviously, Ferrari are going to be delighted with the weekend, but away from that, who's going to be happiest this weekend with the result, team and driver?
I think Ferrari will be happy because I don't think they had the pace to win the race, obviously. And I think they were kind of labouring in that Grand Prix at times. And I think they'll be very happy that they got the points they did because Mercedes, they looked in control, especially after Friday. They looked like they were in control of the weekend. And Ferrari have somehow pulled it out the bag.
Yeah, I mean, somebody in chat just asked about Haas. We'll go over Haas in a minute because we did it at the start of the stream. Obviously, it crashed after that. But same questions to you, Jonty. All in all, happiest team and happiest driver right now? Aside from Ferrari and Vettel, because that's too easy.
Well, I think Red Bull and Ricciardo are going to be quite happy. They were quite a bit quicker on race pace than what quality might have led us to believe. But honestly, problems aside, I think Haas will be very, very happy with their pace. Yes, it was all thrown away in the race because of a silly mistake. But they were quick.
They were quick, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think 4th fastest on this weekend. They clearly were, but can they maintain that, Chaz, for the remainder of this season, or is it just going to be about that development race and the guys with the money out developing them?
I think towards the end of the season, I think teams like Renault and McLaren will outdevelop them. But I think for the first few races, I do think Haas have enough to be 4th fastest. It's a shame that they're probably going to take penalties in Bahrain because I think they'll be very competitive in Bahrain and won't be far off Red Bull, maybe even half a second. But they're going to take a penalty and probably start the back.
Yeah, it's pretty slam dunk, I think. Me and Jonty said had our say on Haas at the start of the stream. Is there anything you want to say about those issues they had, Chaz? Because I know you're a little bit later in than we are.
It's just, if it happens once, then you could say, mistakes happen. But for it to happen twice in 3 laps, I'm sorry, that's just unacceptable. Especially at this high level of motorsport, it's not acceptable. And it might seem harsh, but the guy who let the car go twice, I do think should be fired because, again, if it happens once, then you can say honest mistake, but twice in 3 laps, that's just not good enough.
I think, it does sound harsh, but as well, if they get to the end of the season, that costs them a place in the Constructors' Championship. That could cost them millions in prize money. I think so long as they can keep the pace up, I think they're going to be okay. But, Force India will develop. Williams, we expect to develop to a point. Renault will get better. McLaren will get quicker. Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes will all pull away. Haas could end up mid-season, 7th fastest, and look back at Australia and go, because we were saying in the race, actually, weren't we, Chaz? We were saying that if they can finish 4th and 5th, that could see them well set up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it would have. It would have been a brilliant start to the season. I think they may have been ahead of Red Bull and the constructors had they held those positions. I mean, I know it's early in the season, but still. But again, it's just they've thrown away easily at least 20 points today.
That's a lot as well, isn't it, Jonty, for a team like Haas?
Yeah, it's a huge amount, especially at this stage. I mean, as Chaz said, they'll be strong at the start, probably get out-developed later in the season. But if they could have nailed it this race, and maybe even just one more race, getting 4th, 5th, 6th, that's them right in the title fight. Not in the title fight, but high up in the constructors till the end of the year.
Yeah. Especially when you look at Toro Rosso, not as quick as we maybe, I don't know, we didn't expect them to be quick at all, but we thought they'd be better than they were this weekend. Williams a little bit further back than we thought as well. Force India struggling. This could have been huge for them, and I think, I'll talk about it a little bit more because it was the biggest talking point of the race, I think. Because although we'll probably pretend it was an amazing race, it wasn't the greatest. But I can't even put it. The only words I could put it into is what I said in the live stream when we were watching the race, and that was gutted. That's just how I feel. I'm not a huge Haas fan. They're an underdog, and I want underdogs to win. So that's what it comes from. And I think two drivers that deserve, Magnussen to prove his doubters like us at times in the winter wrong, and Grosjean to show what he's still got, especially with potentially a Ferrari seat up next season. I'm just gutted for both of them. And seeing the driver reactions as well, it meant a hell of a lot to him today, didn't it, Chaz, that one?
Yeah, it is. It's understandable. I mean, you saw Grosjean, he was pounding his steering wheel, punching himself in the head, I think, as well, or punching his helmet. It's such. If they'd finished 4th and 5th, that would have felt like a race victory or a 1-2 finish in their race, for top of the midfield, and they blew it in 3 laps.
Yeah, it is a shame. Just having a look at chat, see if we got some reaction to anything on there. Stop being biased against McLaren all the time. Oh, okay, right, whatever. Just because you don't say something positive, you're biased. I screwed Haas over, says Loose Bolts. Fair enough. It was very suspicious where Grosjean decided to roll out. Looked like Haas wanted to help Ferrari. There's no conspiracy. There's no.
No, not at all.
It's fun to think that there is, but there isn't.
It's absolute rubbish.
I think we addressed that, don't we, earlier, John? Actually, you don't think it's a conspiracy or anything like that, do you? As fun as much as we enjoy a conspiracy, it's not.
No, when you know there is a loose wheel on the car, you stop it immediately.
What do you guys think this puts Red Bull Racing and engine supplier, seeing as how weak Honda was? Fair point. That's a good point. It's very early in the season, obviously, but it might, all the talk in pre-season was, yeah, we'd be happy to go to Honda, and maybe they'll look at it now and go, maybe not.
Well, if you look at, I think Renault have given Red Bull till May to make a decision on whether they want to keep Renault power for 2019 and beyond. And I think Red Bull, I'd say after China, they need to sit down and make the decision then, because at the minute, it doesn't really look like Honda have improved that much. I mean, they may have improved the reliability a bit and the power a bit, but they're still nowhere near close enough to Renault in terms of power and reliability.
Yeah, Johnson, did you want to say something on that one, mate?
It's an interesting point, but you have to believe that Red Bull are fully aware of the state of that Honda engine.
Yeah, they're gonna have their noses everywhere at Honda, aren't they? Keeping a good eye on it all. One to watch though. If they continue to struggle Honda, then Red Bull may have to swallow their pride and say, tail between their legs, sorry Renault, can we keep you till 2020? Haven't Renault?
Sorry, could be that way.
Red G says, haven't Renault said that they will not supply Red Bull next year? They did, or that was the rumour last year, but they've since come out and said that they're giving them a deadline to make the decision. So I think the ball is still very much in Red Bull's court with that one.
Yeah, it is.
That could be very fun come the mid-season break, I think.
Yeah. Was yesterday the beginning of the end for Bottas at Mercedes? Asks Amir.
I wouldn't say immediately that it's beginning of the end, but I do think he has to pick himself up mentally now, because if he doesn't and he makes mistakes in Bahrain and Shanghai, then Hamilton will beat him into submission very quickly by the time we get to Monaco and Canada. And if that happens, then it'll probably be announced that he'll be replaced by Monza for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he already knew there was pressure on him to perform, and all he's done is show he can't handle it.
Yeah, the problem is as well is only one error in one weekend, but when you're in the last year of your contract, things like those seem to get doubly taken into account, if that makes sense. The teams focus on it and they'll go, well, yeah, you did have a good race in Austria, however, you did do this in Australia, and it kind of gets magnified almost, doesn't it, when people are in last year of contracts, and especially with some of the names that are up for grabs this year as well. Yeah, I worry. I like Bottas. I do. He's a really nice guy. He's a good driver. There's no denying that. But like Jonty said there, he's kind of cracked under that pressure early on. So,
also when you look at the quality that there's going to be throughout the Formula 2 field this year,
yeah,
it would be a buyer's market.
Ricardo would be good for Merck, says Thomas Ellis. I think Ricardo would be good for most teams. I wouldn't mind having him for a team. So, Martin Colding, how much did I miss? We've just gone over the race result, just chatting. I've covered the big talking points, just taking a few questions now, mate. So we won't run the stream too long because it has been a very long weekend. I think the three of us are absolutely exhausted.
Pretty much dead.
Yeah, pretty much dead, but get some rest now and it'll be a nice chilled Sunday. But I will say, actually, while I'm saying that, thank you to everybody for your support and that over the weekend. If you are watching, if you could drop a like on the video, that'd be awesome. We got a few dislikes on the last one, which, we were knackered, Chaz. We were very rusty in our little race thingy, but I think next time we do it, we'll try and go a bit more commentary when we do it.
Yeah.
I think we were just a little bit rusty, weren't we, trying to get a feel for what people wanted, but I think they just want a bit more of an alternative commentary, so we'll do that from Bahrain onwards. William Sang says Alonso all the way, great start. Ricardo to Mercedes because no team orders. I was talking to, I think it was Heidi on Discord the other day, because she can't seem to understand why people are linking Ricardo with Ferrari, and I've got this little feeling that Ricardo will end up at Mercedes and that Ferrari might take Bottas. It sounds mad, but, coming from Mercedes, he's going to have information from that team anyway. Get him in that car. He'd probably play number 2 to Sebastian Vettel if they wanted him to. I just can't see that as beyond the realms of possibility and get Ricardo in that Merc. But, because Vettel's not going to want Ricardo. He's not going to want anyone like Verstappen, any big name in there, is he, if he's going to stay there as number 1?
No, definitely not.
It's just, I'm probably overthinking it.
Yeah, it's way too early.
Rightis K says, all hail Damon Hill. We were talking, weren't we, before the stream this morning, Chaz? Damon Hill and Mercedes appear to be in a bit of a war of words, mate.
Yeah, Damon was criticising not only Mercedes, but Ferrari as well about how he feels they're ruining the sport because of how dominant they are in terms of the current power unit cycle. And then Mercedes responded with a tweet saying that, well, Damon, you weren't complaining about engine parity when you were winning in dominant Renault powered cars in the mid 90s.
I love it.
I do as well.
It's so catty. I love it when people get like that. But it's true. You know, it's the same with everybody though. You know, looking back through history, drivers that moan about another team dominating are not the, you know, they're not complaining when they're dominating. You know, you'll get drivers saying, "Oh, you know, this is bad for the sport," and you know, one team dominating is terrible. But then when they're in a car that's dominating, they're like, "Oh no, it's up to everyone else to catch up." It's it's just the way drivers are, I guess. What do you make of all that then, Jonty? I love a little bit of stuff like that.
Well, it was fun to see Damon hit back with the fact that it was Williams and Renault was just the engine. Williams are effectively garagistas.
Yeah.
And he only won one title and was far from dominant.
Yeah. It's a good point, actually. Obviously, Mercedes works in their manufacturers. They should be quick, shouldn't they? But was that Williams that dominant?
No.
I can't remember it being.
Wasn't.
In 92 and 93 it was, but 96 and 97 was not as. But in terms of qualifying, it definitely was. But when it came to race pace, when Damon was there, it was very much beatable.
Yeah, because you look at what Michael Schumacher did in that. I think did Eddie Irvine describe it as a bathtub of a Ferrari in 1996? Yeah. You know, he was not going to win the title in that car, but he took the fight to him. And again, as we said in the live stream earlier, Chaz, Jacques Villeneuve nearly 2 seconds quicker on his pole lap for Australia and out in turn one.
Exactly.
But yeah, Zen says, what about the Merc software glitch? Jonty and I aren't buying it, Chaz.
What's this about? I haven't heard about this.
They're saying that it was a software glitch, which is why they didn't know and couldn't work out that they were going to lose out to Vettel under the VSC. But Jonty makes the point that once the VSC is deployed, they're locked in anyway, so it doesn't matter about software.
Yeah, that's BS. They're just making an excuse because Vettel and Ferrari stayed out, basically hoping for that type of situation to arise, and Mercedes got caught out. Obviously, they didn't know there was going to be a VSC or a safety car, but that's the way it happened. So that's a BS excuse.
I think we agree with that, don't we, Jonty?
Yeah. Yeah. It just clarifies what I said.
Flying Tiger says, good day to all of you, most of you. It's nice to participate in an F1 chat without much childish name calling. It's a breath of fresh air to say an opinion without being cursed at. Well done all. That is what we're about here, isn't it, guys? Just if you've got an opinion, say it. Just respect other people's opinions. Most do. You know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Doesn't mean it's wrong just because you don't agree with it. And yeah, we do all right. I think we do all right. I just saw a question, but I read it wrong. Rosberg was also very confused with the explanation, I'm guessing regarding the Mercedes decision. This hybrid era is ruining the joy of watching Formula One.
I don't know. It's not as good as it was in the naturally aspirated days, but I guess that's just the way it is.
Yeah. It's certainly not as entertaining. But it's not the hybrid era, it's this aero era. That's the difference.
If we'd had, say, the 2016 or 2015 cars in terms of their aero, and the cars were as close as they were in the race with that aero, I think we would have got a lot more overtaking. But this aero, you just can't follow, as we saw all race long.
Yeah. Charles says, what positives and negatives can you take from this race for the rest of the season? The midfield's as close, if not closer, than we thought it was. Mercedes, I think, not as a negative as such, but well, maybe, yeah, from qualifying, they look like they're pretty much going to take every pole position, especially if that is a party mode. But I think the biggest positive is that there's not the huge gap between Mercedes, Ferraris and Red Bulls that we maybe thought coming out of testing.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot closer than I thought it would be after testing finished. And this is the thing, even if Mercedes do get every pole position and they lock out the front row at almost every race, they're still a race. They still have to perform the race. And if anyone remembers back to 2010, Red Bull locked out the front row at almost every race. And Alonso and the Ferrari was leading the championship going into the final race. So again, just because you have the fastest car doesn't give you a divine right to win the title.
Yeah, that's true. I know, very different era, but 1986, Prost won it and was very much not in the fastest car.
Mm.
He was just consistent.
Sean, what do you think about the new F1 theme music? Hate the theme music, but when it's used in context in the intro to the race, it's actually not too bad. It's bearable. So it's not too bad. What are your feelings about the first race of the year? For me, it was not the best race since I'm a Haas fan. Yeah, sorry, mate, that's not a great race. I take the positives from the weekend. It was a very good weekend for Haas up until those issues, and they were on for hefty points. So there's good speed in that car. Niels, where was the action lap? Jonty, me and Chaz were talking during the stream. We think they've listened to fan opinion and bottled that one.
It certainly seems that way. There was no mention of it. Didn't see anything of the other gimmicks either. Or maybe they're just not ready.
Yeah, I mean, the only gimmick I saw which made me chuckle was, I think you sent me actually, Jonty, was the award that Lewis Hamilton got after qualifying. Like, congratulations, here's a mini version of something you've had strapped on your car all weekend. Why? Where's he going to put that on his mantelpiece? You know, if he takes pole position at every race this year, that's 21 mini Pirelli tyres he's got in his house.
No, full size.
Is it full size?
Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah. Now, imagine if they keep that on. 10 years' time, someone like Verstappen, Leclerc, Ocon, the younger drivers.
It'll be like the Springfield tyre fire, won't it? It'll be absolutely ridiculous. But it's like, you know,
I'd build a fort.
Yeah, why build a fort? Why not? I mean, it looks, you know, fine. It's something like gimmicking. They've got a prize, but why don't they give them the super hard instead of the ultra soft? Because it's the only use we're going to get from the super hard all year. So you might as well give them that as the prize.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just looking for do you think Honda will be out from Formula One in 2019? I don't think 2019, but if they don't pick it up and turn it around, I can't see them staying past 2020.
Yeah, I think if they don't improve, then I think it'll get to the point where they're just wasting millions and millions and millions, if not billions of dollars for nothing.
I still don't understand how parking a car is a major incident. Am I missing something here? Did you see that, Jonty, on the graphic when it came with safety car went major incident? It was just because Grosjean's car had been parked at the side. It's not a major incident, is it?
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit of the simplification. If it's a safety car, then it'll be a major incident.
Probably most of the times it would be, to be fair.
Car, it's a slightly.
RC, didn't Liberty want more than a one-stop race? That failed in the first race. Good point. They made the tyres a grade softer to give us more pit stops and more uncertainty, and all but 3 drivers did a one-stop race. A comfortable one-stop race.
Yeah, I was disappointed with that. I thought this race would be 2 stops. I think that'll change in Bahrain. I think Bahrain will be 2 stops, but yeah, I was disappointed with that.
Thoughts on the new graphics, says Red G. We talked about them during the race. Jonty, what were your thoughts on it?
I actually quite like the new graphics now. I've seen them in a race situation.
Not too bad, are they? Bit nice. It looks a bit fresher, doesn't it? A bit more up to date. It's, I guess, long overdue. I'm not overly keen on the font, but
Yeah.
as long as we don't keep getting these random drivers turning up in races like last name and last name, I think we should be okay. Charles said Pirelli had one job.
For me was Red Bull colour.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking at it now. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Weird. Graphics are okay.
It's hard to read.
Red G, yeah, saying he found them harder to read. I like the new graphics. What happened to the new safety car? You mean the new safety car procedure, or the safety car itself?
No, they have. Yeah, they have a new safety car.
Okay.
They did use it.
Can Force India salvage anything from this season, Chaz?
If Renault or McLaren have reliability issues, which is definitely possible, then maybe they can get a fifth if they really develop well. But I think the best I see, absolute best I see, is sixth, which I don't think will be good enough because they were comfortably fourth last year, and now they look like they're probably in a big fight for sixth and seventh.
Daniel O says, yeah, the standing start off the safety car. That was the FIA decided in the week that they're going to backtrack on that, and it is now just if the race is red flagged, it will be a standing start rather than a safety car start. So the safety car is as it always has been. It's just a red flag procedure that's changed now. So
yeah.
A few people actually saying that they're happy with the graphics, and I know this is one we were moaning about on Twitter the other day, Chaz, but there's not enough tyre information.
Yeah, that's annoying. If you watch practice or qualifying, if you watched it last year, they would have the sidebar, but then they would have the color coding for which tire they were on, for what tire they were on when they set that fast lap. But for this weekend, they didn't, and it made it a bit annoying and a bit confusing because in practice you didn't really know who was on what tire and who was sandbagging, who wasn't, and yeah, it was very frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, we do need more information, don't we, Jonty, on screen? Maybe it is just us nerds, us F1 nerds that like that kind of thing, but...
Oh, I don't think Jonty's here.
Oh, has he gone? Oh, okay, his internet's probably dropped out.
He's having internet problems.
Yeah, he's got issues. It's all right. He's getting that. So I think the fourth he said. So hopefully after that we'll be back to the running. But we'll manage between us what we chance. We'll be all right. Do you think Ferrari matched the Mercedes on engine power? Says the Saint for the win.
No, I don't think they have. I think they're probably at the absolute best when they're, say, in an equal mode. Probably it's about a quarter per second in Mercedes' advantage. But I think if Ferrari are going to beat Mercedes this season, it's going to be down to aerodynamics and chassis.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, we'll just go back to, before we finish off, I will take another question or two in a minute, but just before we finish off, Chaz, we've kind of talked about how lucky Vettel was, and, with the virtual safety car, got lucky that way, and the Haas issues, that was lucky. But at the end of the day, as we said during the live stream, we've got to give him the credit, because at the end of the day, you have to be in it to win it, don't you? You've got to make your own luck. There's no point when those things happen being last. You've got to be in the race, haven't you? So,
yeah, I've said it plenty of times. He capitalised, and Ferrari capitalised on the chance they were given absolutely perfectly. And was he lucky? Yeah, he probably was. But Ferrari, waited it out on strategy. They split the strategy, and it ended up working. And as well, you could say the same thing about Daniel Ricciardo. He wouldn't have got fourth if Haas didn't have their problems. So you could say that about plenty of drivers. You could say that about Max Verstappen
Alonso.
or Fernando Alonso
Yeah.
or other drivers. Valtteri Bottas. Bottas might not have scored points. So, plenty of drivers you could say have got lucky. And in every sport, in every walk of life, really, luck is, happens. It just happens. Can't do anything about it.
That's it. It's sport. It's not always predictable. Charles said it. These things happen. Enough said. At the end of the day, the problem is we've got two very loyal and passionate fans of two very good drivers. You've got the Vettel fans that love Vettel, will defend him no matter what. The same with the Hamilton fans that do that. And the problem then is when something like this happens, it's, Vettel got lucky. And then if it had been the other way around, the Vettel fans will go, Hamilton only got lucky. But if you look at it, at the end of the day, you just said it there, they split the strategy. Ferrari forced Hamilton to react to Raikkonen. Now, they didn't know a virtual safety car was coming. That did work out, luckily, but at least they forced the issue, didn't they? They gave Mercedes something to think about, which in the past, Ferrari haven't always done.
Exactly. What they did was really all they could do, because they had to force Hamilton into doing something that could play into Ferrari's favour. So they had to split the strategy. Raikkonen tried to undercut. It didn't really work because I think it came out at the same gap as soon as Lewis Hamilton left the pits, about a lap after Raikkonen made his pit stop, and then Vettel continued on, basically so he could have fresher tyres for the end of the race. And did Ferrari know there was going to be a VSC? No, of course not.
No.
But when the VSC came out, I can guarantee you they started celebrating because they knew that they had played it very, very well on Vettel's side.
Yeah, and like we said during the race as well, people calling Ferrari out saying they've cheated and they've played the conspiracy card. But like we said on the stream, 2 years ago, it was the red flag that won Hamilton the race in Australia. Vettel would have won that race quite comfortably, but the red flag came out and it cost him the race win. So that's luck as well. It swings and roundabouts in F1. It happens for everybody. Let's look at Lewis Hamilton, flip that over. Brazil 2007, very unlucky. Brazil 2008, very lucky.
Exactly.
It swings
and
and
as well,
yeah.
If you let's just compare it to last year. Hamilton pitted early, Vettel continued, Hamilton got stuck behind Verstappen, which played into Ferrari and Vettel's hands. Vettel pitted, 3 laps later, and then came up just ahead of Verstappen, and it was swings and roundabouts for Ferrari then on in that Grand Prix. So you could say the same thing about last year's race. It just happens.
Yeah. You can't say any more than that. I think, like I say, you've got two very passionate fan bases, and you're always going to get a divide. I'd imagine if after Bahrain, if Hamilton gets luck to win the race and Vettel ends up second, we'll be having the exact same argument, but for the roles reverse. That's just the way it goes. But somebody in chat has just summed it up nicely. Arya Stark just got to move on. Simple as that. It's a 21 race season. This means nothing. Let's not forget how Vettel started last year. He won the race, lost the World Championship. So it means nothing in Australia. So, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else we want to really talk about, Chaz? Just want to have a look for a couple of questions in chat, and then we'll end it because I think I want to go to bed.
The only thing I will say is, I think I said it earlier, is I think Ferrari got away with it here, and I think Bahrain, they won't, they'll be really good in Bahrain, because I think last year they won the race last year, didn't they, in Bahrain?
Yeah.
And they were a lot more competitive in Bahrain. So I think, again, Vettel and Ferrari, they know they've got away with it, and I think they'll be looking to capitalise in Bahrain. And I think in terms of race pace, I think Mercedes will be under more pressure, luck or no luck.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one, mate. It's the Devil's Zone wants to know thoughts on Alonso's performance. He'll be happy, but another one who got lucky because of the Haas issues. But fifth place, what they're describing as going to be their worst race of the year. And that's what they've achieved. So I think they'll be very happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think great result for McLaren. I didn't expect this. I thought absolute best they could get 8th. Didn't think they'd get 5th. And Alonso is my driver of the day because he capitalised like Vettel did when the VSC and the safety car came out. But also he kept up with drivers who were in much faster machinery, such as Verstappen, Ricciardo.
Yeah. So I was just reading something in chat, just somebody asking if we discussed Verstappen's race. We did, didn't we? I don't know, were you on when we discussed? I don't think you were, Chaz, actually. And somebody else just asked, do you believe Max's statement that something went wrong mechanically before he spun? He said something broke on the car and then he spun. That would explain why his pace suddenly dropped off.
Yeah, I don't quite know what broke, but it seemed something that affected the just general stability of the car, because if you watch the race back, and I think lap 7, he had a big slide in turn 1 and he caught it. And he had a big slide, I think, turn 10, on the exit of turn 10, and he caught it. But then when he went through turn 1, I think lap 10, he tried to catch it. And if you actually look, he spun before he even entered turn 1, before he even got through turn 1 and clipped that inside curb. The car already was spinning. So something definitely was wrong with that car. And I think Verstappen did an okay job considering he had some kind of issue, but I think Red Bull, even though Ricciardo finished 4th, I think Red Bull will be kind of disappointed, honestly, because I think with the strategy they were on with Max Verstappen, I think Red Bull expected a podium today.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ricciardo nearly got one. It's a bloody good comeback from him. But yeah, I think Verstappen's pace dropped off so much after that spin. There must be something wrong with the car, and I think that did cost him, because I don't know, he'd have been closer. Virtual safety car, maybe. I don't know.
He could have put on the ultra softs.
Yeah.
And he could have pushed right. He could have pushed, not only Raikkonen, Vettel and Hamilton as well. Because ultra soft against soft is no contest.
Yeah.
And against Vettel and Hamilton, it'd be a tougher fight, but it would still give them he still would have gave them scares if he actually got up to the back of them. So again, I think Red Bull are going to be kind of disappointed that Verstappen had the problems he did, because they were looking okay, even though, yes, they were behind Magnussen. Considering that we had a safety car, I think Red Bull are even more disappointed than they were whilst they were behind Magnussen.
Yeah, it did take them a while to get anywhere near those passes. They couldn't really pass them, could they? I think that's down to the Ferrari power unit. But yeah. Again, mate, I can't really disagree with you on that one. It's pretty spot on assessment of Red Bull's weekend. Kind of one of those, not bad but could have, or good but could have been so much more, I suppose. But yeah, I tell you what, they're looking good for tracks like Hungary and Monaco and Singapore again, aren't they? If they've got a good inherent pace in that car and they've got the good chassis, then yeah, long way to go yet though this season. We'll end it there then, Chaz, because it's been a long old morning, I guess you could say. Yeah, thank you very much for the watch along this morning. Like I say, next time, mate, will be a bit more commentary about it. Make a bit more fuss and shout a bit more. I think it's a bit more of an acceptable time of day as well, Bahrain. So we'll
4 o'clock British time.
Plenty of time to get some sleep and whatnot. So yeah. Thank you very much, mate, and I will talk to you a little bit later.
Yeah, thank you, and also thanks to everyone watching the watch along as well. It was fun, even though we were cutting each other off a lot because there was lots of stuff going on at times. But yeah, it was great, and again, thanks to you and everyone as well.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much.
Right, bye.
Cheers, bye. Like Chaz said, that cut each other off quite a bit, but it's something that as we work together a bit more on stuff like that, we'll kind of get used to it. So it'll all get better. Thank you very much for everyone for everything this weekend for the quali live stream. We had issues in that, technical issues. The watch along, a lot of people enjoyed that. I enjoyed doing it. And also, sorry about the technical issues in this stream. Hopefully, my internet won't be the dick, quite frankly, that it's been this weekend. I will say there was going to be another giveaway in the stream, but what I'm going to do instead is do the giveaway on Discord. I think that's the fairest way to do it. One on Discord and one on YouTube. So if you do want to get involved in that giveaway, then do make sure you follow the link, which I'm sure some of the mods will spam in chat for me now. There is a link to it in the description to join us on Discord, and I'll be doing a giveaway this afternoon on there to thank you all for 20k. I will be back tomorrow. Is it Monday tomorrow? It is Monday tomorrow. It's been one of them weekends. I will be back tomorrow with the full Australian Grand Prix review, where I'll go over all the stats and look at some of the interviews from the post-race reactions. And of course, we'll be live again on Wednesday for Midweek Live, where it'll be a nice interactive stream. We'll probably talk a little bit more about the race weekend as well. You can follow me on social media. Links to Facebook, Twitter and Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.